He didn't drop the glass. That was the first strange thing. The coconut sat steady in the woman's hands, the little paper umbrella trembling slightly as the breeze rolled in from the sea. Ice clinked softly inside. A normal sound. A harmless sound. But nothing else was normal. The Korean billionaire CEO stood there with his feet planted in the sand like he'd been nailed in place. His shoulders locked. His spine stiffened. His body refused to obey whatever signal his brain was screaming at it. Because the moment his eyes met theirs, something inside him collapsed. Not slowly. Not gently. All at once. The beach was alive around them. Waves folded into themselves. Children laughed somewhere behind him. The surfboards stacked near the hut swayed faintly as the wind moved past. But inside his chest, the noise vanished. Because there were two boys standing in front of him. And they were looking up at him. Not with fear. Not with curiosity strong enough to explain the reaction ripping through him. They were looking up at him like children do when they're trying to understand adults, faces tilted, eyes wide, innocent, expectant. And their faces were his. Same eyes. Same curve of the nose. Same mouth. Even the slight asymmetry he'd always noticed in his reflection as a teenager. The resemblance wasn't subtle. It wasn't debatable. It was undeniable. His breath caught in his throat, sharp and shallow, like his lungs had forgotten how to work properly. Beside him, his fiancée felt it instantly. She didn't know why yet, but she felt it. The tension in his arm. The sudden rigidity in his posture. The way his fingers curled inward as if he were trying to hold himself together. She turned her head to follow his gaze. And when she saw them, her hand flew to her mouth. Two boys. Twins. Standing close together in the sand. And behind them. The woman. The woman he hadn't seen in years. The woman he had erased from his life with ruthless precision. The woman he had convinced himself was gone forever. She stood behind the small wooden beach bar beneath the straw canopy, holding the coconut calmly, her posture composed, her expression unreadable at first glance. But her eyes were locked on him. Not accusing. Not pleading. Just steady. As if she had always known this moment would come. CTA, do not skip. Before we go any further, pause for just a moment. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. And stay with me. Because what happened on that beach didn't just expose a secret, it destroyed a future. The CEO swallowed hard. His fiancée shifted closer, her red dress brushing his arm, her body instinctively leaning toward him like she could shield him from whatever invisible force had just struck. Do you know them? She whispered. The question barely made it past her lips. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because his mind had already started unraveling. Counting. Measuring. Calculating years the same way he'd calculated profit margins and hostile takeovers. The twins looked about 5. Maybe 4.5. Which meant. No. He shut the thought down instantly. Impossible. He had made sure of that. Or at least, he thought he had. The woman behind the bar set the coconut down gently, as if she understood that any sudden movement might shatter the fragile balance holding the moment together. Her fingers lingered on the rim. She hadn't planned this. Not like this. She had come to the beach because the twins loved the water. Because they begged every morning when the sun was out. Because this was supposed to be a quiet place where she could watch them laugh and forget, just for a few hours, the weight of everything she carried. She had not expected him. And yet, when she saw him approach with another woman at his side, tall, confident, polished even in casual beachwear, something inside her went cold. Not fear. Recognition. The past never truly disappears. It waits. The boys shifted again, one glancing sideways at the other, then back up at the man standing in front of them. Mom, one of them said softly, tugging at the hem of her dress. Why is he looking at us like that? The question cut through the silence like glass. The CEO's fiancée inhaled sharply. Mom! She turned toward the black woman behind the counter, her eyes flicking between her and the twins, her heart beginning to pound. The CEO finally found his voice. Or something close to it. Is this His words came out hoarse. Broken. A coincidence. The woman met his gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Years of unspoken truth stretched between them, heavy and unyielding. Then she answered. No. One word. That was all it took. The fiancé's fingers trembled against her lips. What does that mean? She asked, her voice cracking despite her effort to stay composed. The CEO didn't look at her. He couldn't. Because the truth was rising too fast now, crashing through the walls he'd built so carefully around his life. He remembered that night. He had tried to forget it. Tried to rewrite it as a mistake. A weakness. A moment that didn't matter in the grand scheme of his ambitions. But the woman remembered it differently. She remembered the way he had held her like the world couldn't touch them. The way he promised things he wasn't ready to keep. The way he left. And now, years later, here he was, successful, powerful, engaged to another woman, standing face to face with the consequences of the one decision he had never truly confronted. The twins stared up at him again, their identical expressions curious now, uncertain. Why is he shaking? One of them whispered to the other. And yet, when she saw him approach with another woman at his side, tall, confident, polished even in casual beachwear, something inside her went cold. Not fear. Recognition. The past never truly disappears. It waits. The boys shifted again, one glancing sideways at the other, then back up at the man standing in front of them. Mom, one of them said softly, tugging at the hem of her dress. Why is he looking at us like that? The question cut through the silence like glass. The CEO's fiancée inhaled sharply. Mom. She turned toward the black woman behind the counter, her eyes flicking between her and the twins, her heart beginning to pound. The CEO finally found his voice. Or something close to it. Is this? His words came out hoarse. Broken. A coincidence. The woman met his gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Years of unspoken truth stretched between them, heavy and unyielding. Then she answered. No. One word. That was all it took. The fiancé's fingers trembled against her lips. What does that mean? She asked, her voice cracking despite her effort to stay composed. The CEO didn't look at her. He couldn't. Because the truth was rising too fast now, crashing through the walls he'd built so carefully around his life. He remembered that night. He had tried to forget it. Tried to rewrite it as a mistake. A weakness. A moment that didn't matter in the grand scheme of his ambitions. But the woman remembered it differently. She remembered the way he had held her like the world couldn't touch them. The way he promised things he wasn't ready to keep. The way he left. And now, years later, here he was, successful, powerful, engaged to another woman, standing face to face with the consequences of the one decision he had never truly confronted. The twins stared up at him again, their identical expressions curious now, uncertain. Why is he shaking? One of them whispered to the other. Before we continue, if you're still here, do me one thing right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story about love or betrayal. It's about consequences. Now stay with me. The silence on the beach stretched too long. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that presses against your ears until it feels unbearable. The Korean billionaire CEO finally took a step forward. Just one. The sand shifted under his shoes, grounding him in the reality he was still struggling to accept. The twins instinctively leaned closer together, sensing the change. One of them glanced back at the woman behind the bar, as if asking for permission without words. She nodded slightly. Not encouragement. Reassurance. The fiancé noticed that small exchange. And something cold settled in her stomach. You know him, she said slowly, turning to the black woman. Don't you? The woman didn't look away from the CEO when she answered. Yes. The single syllable landed like a stone dropped into water. How? The fiancé pressed. The CEO swallowed hard. Can we not do this here? He said quietly, finally turning toward his fiancée. Please. She stared at him. Not angry yet. Confused. Hurt. You brought me here, she said. You said this trip was about us. About starting fresh before the wedding. Her voice wavered on the last word. And now, she continued, gesturing toward the twins, I find out you share a past with a woman who has children that look exactly like you. The resemblance screamed louder the longer she stared. Same hairline. Same eyes. Same posture even in the way the boys stood. This isn't nothing, she said. So stop acting like it is. The CEO closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, he looked older. Tired. Defeated in a way power couldn't mask. You're right, he said. It's not nothing. The woman behind the bar exhaled softly, as if she'd been holding her breath since the moment he appeared. We shouldn't do this in front of them, she said, her voice calm but firm. They don't need to hear this. The CEO nodded. Can we talk? He asked. Privately. She studied him for a long moment. Then she glanced down at the twins. Go sit by the surfboards, she said gently. Stay where I can see you. The boys hesitated, then obeyed, dragging their feet through the sand. The fiancée watched them go, her heart pounding. They were real. Too real. When the twins were out of earshot, the woman crossed her arms. What do you want? She asked. I want to understand, the CEO said. I want to know why you didn't tell me. She laughed. Not humorously. Bitterly. You left, she said. You disappeared. Changed numbers. Changed addresses. Changed your life. That's not. You made it very clear, she interrupted, that there was no place for me in it. The fiancée felt like she was watching a conversation that had started long before she existed. What is she talking about? She asked him. He didn't answer right away. And that silence was answer enough. The woman behind the bar looked at the fiancée then. Really looked at her. You didn't know, she said softly. It wasn't a question. The fiancée's chest tightened. No, she whispered. I didn't. The woman nodded slowly. I figured. The CEO stepped between them instinctively. This isn't your fault, he said to his fiancée. She stared at him, disbelief flashing across her face. Then whose is it? She asked. His mouth opened. Closed. No words came. The woman behind the bar spoke instead. Mine, she said. And his. The fiancée shook her head. You expect me to accept this like it's normal? No, the woman replied. I expect you to understand that it's real. The CEO turned to the twins again, who were now crouched in the sand, drawing lines with sticks. They're mine, he said quietly. The woman didn't deny it. Yes. The word echoed. The fiancée felt the ground shift beneath her. You have children, she said, her voice barely audible. Yes. And you were going to marry me without telling me. He looked at her then. I didn't know, he said. I swear I didn't. She searched his face for deception. Found only terror. You never suspected, she asked. I was told. He stopped himself. The woman's eyes narrowed. Told what? She asked. He hesitated. Finish it, the fiancé demanded. He exhaled. She told me she couldn't get pregnant. The woman stiffened. I told you what the doctor told me at the time, she said. Things change. You didn't tell me they changed, he shot back. You didn't give me the chance, she replied coldly. The tension snapped tight. The fiancé stepped back. So all these years, she said slowly, you both just moved on? The woman nodded. Yes. And you raised them alone? Yes. Why didn't you come looking for him? The fiancé asked. The woman's gaze hardened. Because I didn't want my children growing up as secrets, she said. Or bargaining chips. The CEO flinched. That's not. Isn't it? She challenged. Your world runs on power and silence. I chose something else. The fiancée wrapped her arms around herself. And what happens now? She asked. The woman looked at the twins again. Now, she said, they get answers. The CEO's heart pounded. And me? He asked quietly. The woman met his eyes. That depends, she said. On what? He asked. On whether you deserve to know them, she replied. The fiancée turned sharply toward him. You're not just going to walk into their lives, she said. You don't get to disrupt everything. He nodded. I know. Do you? She asked. Because this changes everything. Yes, he said. That's why I need time. The woman scoffed. Time is something you took already, she said. All of it. The twins looked back over, sensing the raised tension. One of them waved. The CEO's chest clenched painfully. They deserve better, he said. From all of us. The woman studied him. For once, she said quietly, you might be right. The fiancé felt tears sting her eyes. Am I still part of this us? She asked him softly. He turned to her. I don't know, he said honestly. But I won't lie to you. That hurt more than a lie would have. She nodded slowly. I need space, she said. I need to think. I understand, he replied. She stepped away, putting distance between them, staring out at the ocean as if the horizon might offer clarity. The woman behind the bar watched her go. She didn't deserve this, she said. No, he agreed. But neither did you. Silence fell again. Different now. Heavier. This isn't over, the woman said. I know, he replied. The twins ran back over then, laughter breaking through the tension. Mom. We found shells, one of them exclaimed. She smiled instantly. A real smile. The CEO watched that transformation in awe. And fear. Because in that moment, he realized the truth he'd been avoiding. He wasn't just facing his past. He was standing at the edge of a future he had no control over. If you were in his place. Standing between the woman you planned to marry and the children you never knew existed. What would you choose? Let me know in the comments. The fiancée didn't walk far. She stopped just short of the waterline, her bare feet sinking slightly into the wet sand as the tide rolled in and retreated again. The ocean was calm, deceptively so, stretching endlessly in front of her as if nothing in the world had changed. But everything had. Behind her, she could still feel them. The man she had planned a life with. The woman who knew him before she ever did. And the children, those twins, standing at the center of it all like living proof of a truth no one could undo. She pressed her fingers together, hard enough to steady the shaking. Think, she told herself. Don't break here. She had spent her life surrounded by powerful men who controlled rooms with their voices, their money, their silence. She had learned early how to stand beside them without shrinking. But this was different. This wasn't ambition or strategy or compromise. This was blood. Behind her, the CEO stood where she'd left him, his eyes fixed on the twins again as they knelt in the sand, laughing as one tried to bury the other's feet. Their laughter was light, unburdened. Cruel in its innocence. The black woman watched him closely now. Not with anger. With calculation. You should sit, she said quietly, gesturing toward the shaded bench beside the bar. You look like you might fall over. He didn't argue. He Saturday. And for the first time since he'd built his empire, he felt small. The twins glanced up again. Mom, one of them said, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. Why is he sad? She walked over and crouched beside them, smoothing sand from their knees. He's not sad, she said gently. He's surprised. The boy frowned. Why? She hesitated. Then answered honestly but carefully. Because sometimes adults don't know everything they think they do. The CEO's chest tightened. That sentence landed harder than any accusation. She straightened and faced him again. You don't get to speak to them yet, she said calmly. Not until we decide what this is. He nodded immediately. I understand. Do you? She asked. Because understanding means accepting that you don't get control here. I accept that, he said. She studied his face. Years ago, that face had promised her safety. Love. A future. She had believed him then. Now, she believed only what she could see. And what she could see was a man shaken to his core. The fiancé turned back toward them slowly. Her expression had changed. Not broken. Hardened. I want the truth, she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. All of it. Not pieces. Not what you think I can handle. The CEO stood. You'll get it, he said. But not like this. Why? she asked sharply. Because the children are here. Yes, he replied. And because they deserve privacy. The woman nodded once. She's right, she said. This conversation shouldn't be happening in the open. The fiancée folded her arms. So what now? She asked. The CEO exhaled slowly. We leave, he said. All of us. Separately. The woman's eyes narrowed. And then, he continued, we talk. Somewhere private. Somewhere neutral. The twins perked up at the word leave. Are we going home? One asked. The woman smiled faintly. Yes, she said. Soon. The CEO watched that smile. It wasn't for him. And that hurt more than he expected. They parted on the beach without ceremony. No shouting. No dramatic collapse. Just distance. The kind that settles in your bones. The fiancée walked ahead toward the resort, her back straight, her steps deliberate. The CEO followed a few paces behind, resisting the urge to reach out. The woman gathered the twins' things, slinging the small bag over her shoulder, her movements efficient. As they passed each other, their eyes met one last time. This isn't finished, she said quietly. I know, he replied. She didn't say goodbye. That night, the storm arrived. Not from the sky. From the silence. The fiancée stood in the hotel room alone, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She barely recognized herself. The red dress lay draped over a chair, abandoned like something from another life. She replayed the moment again and again. The twins' faces. The way he froze. The way he didn't deny it. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Did he propose on the trip? She closed her eyes. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Something complicated happened. She set the phone down. Across the city, the CEO sat in his own suite, lights off, the ocean visible through the glass like a dark, breathing thing. He had made calls. To lawyers. To advisors. None of them knew what to say. This wasn't a problem to be managed. It was a truth to be faced. His phone buzzed too. A message from the woman. Tomorrow. Noon. Cafe on the east side. Come alone. His heart thudded. I'll be there, he typed back. He stared at the screen for a long time after. The next day came too quickly. The cafe was quiet, tucked away from tourists, its windows fogged slightly by the humidity. The woman arrived first, the twins not with her this time. Good. This conversation needed space. When the CEO walked in, she didn't stand. Didn't smile. Just gestured to the seat across from her. You look worse, she said. He Saturday. I feel worse. She nodded. Good. That means you're paying attention. He didn't argue. I didn't know, he said again. I swear to you. I believe that, she replied. What I don't believe is that you would have stayed if you had. He flinched. You don't get to rewrite history, she continued. I lived it. Silence settled between them. Why didn't you tell me? He asked quietly. She met his gaze. Because when I found out, you were already gone, she said. Engaged. Untouchable. Powerful. And you thought what? That I wouldn't care. I thought, she said, voice tightening, that I wouldn't matter. He leaned forward. You mattered, he said. You still do. She laughed softly. That's easy to say now. He swallowed. What do you want from me? He asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then. Consistency, she said. Honesty. Boundaries. And the boys? He asked. She held his gaze. They come first. Always. I understand. Do you? She challenged. Because this will cost you. He nodded. I know. And your fiancé? She asked. He hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. She exhaled. She deserves the truth too, she said. Whatever that means for you. He nodded again. Meanwhile, the fiancé sat alone on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. She hadn't slept. Hadn't eaten. Every future she had imagined now felt fragile. Her phone rang. His name. She answered. We need to talk, he said. Yes, she replied. We do. There was a pause. I won't lie to you, he said. Even if it costs me everything. Her chest tightened. I'm not asking you to choose yet, she said. I'm asking you to be honest. I will be. She closed her eyes. Then come back, she said. And tell me who you really are. That night, 3 lives moved toward the same collision point. The woman tucked her twins into bed, watching their chests rise and fall, her heart aching with both pride and fear. The CEO stood on his balcony, staring at the city lights, knowing power had never felt so useless. And the fiancée sat in silence, wondering whether love could survive a truth this heavy. None of them slept. Because the next decision would change everything. If this story has you hooked so far, don't stop here. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And share this with someone who loves deep, emotional stories. Because the next part isn't about discovery anymore. It's about choice. And not everyone walks away clean. Stay with me. The night before the decision was the longest of his life. The Korean billionaire CEO stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse suite, the city glowing below him like a living thing. He had stared at this view countless times, after acquisitions, after scandals, after victories that made headlines. Tonight, it meant nothing. Power had never felt so hollow. His phone lay on the table behind him. Silent. Heavy. Like it carried the weight of every future he was about to lose. For the first time, he didn't know which loss scared him more. Across the city, the black woman sat on the edge of her bed, listening to the slow, even breathing of her twins. Moonlight filtered through the curtains, painting their faces silver. She watched them the way she always did, memorizing, protecting, grounding herself in their presence. They were her certainty. Everything else was noise. She had never planned to re-enter his world. Never imagined him standing in front of her again, pale and shaken, looking at her children like a man staring at his own reflection. But life didn't ask permission. It simply arrived. And in another hotel room, the fiancée sat upright, dressed but unmoving, her suitcase open on the floor. She hadn't packed a single thing. Every item she picked up felt like a question she couldn't answer. The ring on her finger caught the light. She stared at it for a long time. Then she took it off and placed it gently on the nightstand. Not because she had decided, but because she needed to breathe. The meeting happened the next morning. Neutral ground. A private room in a quiet coastal restaurant overlooking the sea. No lawyers. No assistants. No children. Just the 3 of them. The CEO arrived first. Then the fiancé. Then the woman. They sat at a round table, equidistant, like 3 lives forced into balance. No one spoke at first. Finally, the woman broke the silence. I won't keep you, she said. But we need to be clear. The CEO nodded. So do we, the fiancé added, her voice steady but distant. The woman folded her hands. The boys are yours, she said, looking directly at him. That's not negotiable. He nodded again. I know. And I won't allow them to be hidden, she continued. No secret visits. No quiet arrangements. No pretending they don't exist. I wouldn't do that, he said quickly. She raised an eyebrow. You already did, she replied. The truth stung because it was deserved. She continued. If you want to be part of their lives, it will be on their terms. Slowly. Carefully. Publicly, when they're ready. I agree, he said. The fiancée listened in silence, her heart pounding. And you? The woman asked, turning to her. The fiancée straightened. I'm not here to compete with your children, she said. Or with your past. Good, the woman replied. Because you'd lose. There was no malice in it. Just fact. The fiancée swallowed. What I need to know, she said, turning to the man she loved, is whether there is room for me in a life that includes them. The CEO closed his eyes. When he opened them, something in him had changed. There is room, he said. But not in the way I planned before. She waited. I can't promise you a clean future, he continued. Or a simple one. But I can promise you honesty. And I can promise that I will never again pretend part of my life doesn't exist. The fiancé nodded slowly. That's not the same thing as choosing me. No, he said quietly. It isn't. The woman leaned back in her chair. Then we're done here, she said. Because the rest is between you two. She stood. But before she could leave, the fiancé spoke. Wait. The woman turned. You didn't do anything wrong, the fiancé said. I need you to know that. The woman studied her. I know, she replied. But thank you. She left without another word. Silence settled between them. The CEO reached for the fiancé's hand. She didn't pull away. But she didn't hold on either. Say it, she said softly. He swallowed. I can't marry you, he said. The words fell heavy and final. Not now, he continued. Not like this. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. Because of them, she asked. Because of me, he replied. Because I'm not the man I pretended to be when I asked you. She nodded. That hurts less than I thought it would, she said quietly. And that scares me. I'm sorry, he said. I know, she replied. She stood. I loved the version of you I thought existed, she said. I don't know this one yet. She picked up the ring from the table. Placed it gently in his palm. Figure out who you are, she said. Then maybe we'll talk again. She walked away without looking back. Weeks passed. The world moved on. The tabloids never found out. The CEO made sure of that. But some things couldn't be hidden. He began visiting the twins, always with their mother present. Always careful. Always patient. At first, they treated him like a stranger. Then like a visitor. Then, slowly, like someone familiar. One afternoon, one of them asked, Are you our dad? The room went quiet. The woman looked at him. He knelt. Yes, he said simply. If you want me to be. They considered that. Then nodded. That night, he cried for the first time in years. The woman watched the change in him carefully. He didn't overstep. Didn't disappear. Didn't try to buy his way in. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe this might not be another lie. And the fiancé? She rebuilt. Quietly. Away from him. She traveled. Took time. Learned who she was without the life she thought she wanted. Sometimes she thought of him. Sometimes she didn't. And that was healing. Months later, on the same beach, the twins ran ahead, laughing as the tide chased their feet. The CEO stood beside the woman, not touching her, but present. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For not destroying me, he replied. She smiled faintly. You did that yourself, she said. I just didn't stop you. They watched the boys together. Not lovers. Not enemies. Just two people bound by truth. And somewhere in the distance, the fiancé watched the sunset alone, free in a way she hadn't expected. Sometimes loss isn't punishment. Sometimes it's clarity. If you were in his place, would you choose the future you planned? Or the truth you can't escape? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you even a little, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves deep, emotional stories. Because some stories don't end happily. They end honestly.